Hello,
Hi.
welcome back. Sorry we've been absent the last couple of weeks, but well, it has been a crazy market and it's been really
Yes.
fun. So, hopefully, you guys are all taking advantage of the February market and the fun things that have come along with it.
Mm-hmm.
Mandy's going to talk to you a little bit about interest rates in a minute and how
Mm-hmm.
that's affecting things, but we should be off to the races, right?
Yeah, lots of contracts. I've gotten contracts over the weekend, lots of buyers out shopping. It's been really good.
It feels
So,
like, especially in the last week or so, that we
mhm.
are in our spring stride. We got some
Yeah.
good weather, even though it's snowing today, and
Yep.
it
Hmm.
really kind of got some people out in the buying mood.
And we predicted that the buy downs would go away in February or March. I think they're dead.
I think they're
I think
probably
they're
gone.
gone. I think our forecasts were right.
Yeah, I think by July 4th, maybe you'll be
Yeah.
lucky to get them again.
But yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's been really good that that we're getting buyers back out there, but just us making all of our forecasts and predictions. When you have the data behind it, it's good to predict.
Yeah, and it's a whole lot easier to get behind this stuff. So let's give you a couple of seller facts. We're going to get through our three seller points this week. There's very little competition for sellers right now, and it's pretty amazing to see just how little competition there is. Now, it's not like it was last year, obviously, but we do have a really interesting thing. So let me make us really tiny, and let's take a look at this. Our active listings in the marketplace are still only at 482 for all of Boulder County. That's 65% up above last year, but in all reality, like, sellers haven't listed as many homes either, and we're down to 2019 levels there. Think like pre-pandemic, right? This feels way before COVID, and we're back into 2019 or even like 2014 levels. So there's not a lot of inventory. There's just not a lot of buyers either. But with that being said, I mean, I think that brings us to our second point, where you know let's let's talk about be patient
Yeah.
and price aggressively, right? Because if you're patient and you price aggressively, I think that this is a really, really good market to sell a house
Hmm. Yeah, and the price is always important, but in a market like this, it really is important to see, going for that buyer pool right off the bat, and not giving price cuts too quickly.
Yeah, I agree. And you can really see it here. Let's take a look at the data to back this up. So this would be our average days in MLS, and the highest in the year are always in January, right? So we're looking at January data, and we're telling you what to do in February, which makes us have to predict a little bit here. But
Hmm.
let's just assume we're in a year similar to 2019. You know, we start the year at, well, it's 58 days in MLS for Boulder County, but even if it was like it was last month at 46 days, right? We have a long ways to go before we get to the peak of the market in that May or June timeframe, where it's turning over in 20 to 30 days. So buyers are out there. They're just taking their time shopping a little bit. You just need to be a little more patient. I don't necessarily think, like you said, that price cuts make a ton of sense unless you truly just overprice the home, right?
Yeah.
Come out of the gate at a good price. Look at the other competition that's out there in the market. You'll sell. Be patient. There are buyers looking, even though interest rates are not great right now.
Yeah, I have a buyer right now who has her house listed and she's getting really impatient. She's
Right.
wanting to move it. And I called her agent and I'm like, hey, what can we show her to show that this is a normal sales cycle? That she's not over her average days in the MLS. And so, she's only been on the market for maybe 3 weeks, which feels like a long time when coming off of the craziness of last year, but she's not above that. So we just told her, be patient. We showed her your graphs
Oh, good.
and she was happy to see that. So be patient, and we don't want to do many price cuts right now for
Yeah,
her.
and I think the other part of this is the other side of the slide is that percentage close to list price. It just means you really need to entertain offers when they come, and you really don't want to offend anyone. So you really want to keep everyone engaged, right? You don't want to lose the deal at the table when you have a deal at the table, right? 97.5% listed sale price may not feel great in January, but it's rising all the way through, that April to May timeframe. We should get to around 100% on average, which means there will be some bidding wars, there will be some discounts. You just got to keep people engaged because there are deals to be had. There are buyers that want to buy homes, and if you're looking to sell, it's absolutely possible. Right?
Yeah. Word on the street is that we are getting, multiple offers, not
Mhm.
7, but maybe 2 or 3.
Well, and that should
Um,
help get that price closer to that 100%
mhm.
mark, right? Because
Yep.
all it takes is two people.
Yep. And then also, we're not seeing as many concessions. And I have a few contracts. Get this. This is so crazy with appraisal gaps. I
Wow.
know that we have $5,000 appraisal gaps on a condo that we're worried that might
Mhm.
appraise or might not appraise. So they're back.
Well, that brings us to our next point, right?
Mhm.
I mean, these stories always just seem to line up. So the next one is low priced homes are in really high demand. And the reason we bring this up is because not every price point is created equal, right? The
Mhm.
higher price point homes with money costing so much more are becoming more and more difficult to sell. They're going to sit on the market a little bit longer than those lower priced homes.
Mhm. Well, and we saw that update last week from Dave Stevens, and he basically went over, the population at different
Yes.
age levels. And right now, we have a very, very large group of millennials between the ages of 26 and 34 who are shopping for houses. And so those first time home
Mhm.
buyers are out there and they're, it's very competitive at those lower priced entry level homes.
And Dave Stevens, for all of you who don't know, he's a really well renowned national economist.
Mhm.
He is probably the kind of opposite polar
Yes, of
of
Barry
Barry
Habib.
Habib, and
Mhm.
they both are really preaching a lot of the same stuff right now because we're just in a really low supply market with way
Mhm.
too many people looking to buy homes, and this just happens to be a really good time to take advantage of that if you can as a buyer, because this might be the one blip in the radar they get, right? I mean,
Right.
we could be in a really low inventory environment for another decade, which
Mhm.
we were for the last decade, so expect it to be tough out there.
Yep. I have some tough buyers in tough price ranges, and I'm telling them you have to go now. You have to go
I
now
have to go now.
because the second rates come down, because they're all the experts are predicting they will. Once they come down, the buyers are going to be out there. It's more competition, less seller concessions, which
Mhm.
a lot of first time home buyers have to have. So,
Well, and let's look at this. Let's just take a look at that five to $600,000 price point. So we use this a lot with a lot of buyers and sellers because it helps them better understand what's going on in the market at their like in their part of the market, right?
mhm,
So at 5 to 600,000, which is where a lot of people are shopping, you have less than a month of inventory. We're in a super strong seller's market. So as a seller, you can totally take advantage of this stuff, which is great. But it's taking a little bit longer to go under contract, right?
mhm,
January is just the slower part of the market. This is going to get faster. It's going to be more competitive. If you price right, you're going to get those people that come look in the first couple of weeks and
mhm.
they're going to see stuff. If they're shopping every weekend, you're going to catch those people on your radar. And it's just a really, really good time to be a seller.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a buyer and you can get in during this kind of a market where you got a lull and there's not as many buyers shopping, that's a big deal, right? Because
Mhm,
I mean, a year ago we were at less than a week of inventory in some of these markets. So
mhm.
there's some relief for buyers in that respect, but as a seller, like it's still an amazing time. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not going to change in the next decade. It could get worse.
Now, tell me how months of supply of inventory is calculated. I always forget that.
Sure. So month supply of inventory just means that if nothing else comes on the market, how long is it going to take to sell those homes? So if you look at 3+ million, it says 7 months of inventory. At the rate we're selling $3+ million homes, it's going to take 7 months to sell everything on the market, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if we get into 500,000 to $599,000 homes, it's going to take 3 weeks to sell the homes that are there, and then there will be no more inventory. So as stuff gets listed, obviously it backfills that. So every month you could see that shift in one direction or another. Through the spring market, you generally see these numbers rise because you see so many listings coming to market, even though you have buyers
Mm-hmm.
buying up a lot of them. They just don't buy up as many as sellers that come to market. So that's why you really just need to list early this year if you're going to list a home.
Nice. Okay.
Well, tell us about interest rates. Let's take a look at this because I think this is really important. And it just seems to be changing every week right now, which
Yeah.
is not always the greatest thing, but it is something we have to talk about.
Mm-hmm. So up means good, down means bad in this graph. So here we go. You can see from about right before February 6th, we started to see the chart trend downward. That means not great for rates. So we were really getting close to that low sixes, high fives that we were consistently quoting. And now we're back into the mid fives or mid sixes and high sixes.
Yeah.
So we've gotten some economic reports. Most of it is based on national reports, or worldwide, honestly.
Yeah,
What's
I mean, the
going-
world markets are really affecting everything here,
Mhm,
which
yeah.
they don't normally affect things this much, but
Mhm.
go ahead, talk
What's
a little bit
going
about
on
it.
in
It's really
Japan,
important.
what's going on in Ukraine, what's going on in Europe is having a major impact on what's going on here. Fear in the market. But, pay attention to, as much as we're seeing this, the interest rates coming up, and it's a bummer. We're really looking forward to May 10th. That's the date that we're circling on our calendars for that inflation report to come out and show a really good positive inflation number that we're thinking is going to have a good impact on rates.
Yeah, and the reason that these international people are affecting our market so much is so many of them put money into our bond markets
Mhm.
because we're so stable, right? Well, the problem is that everybody's unstable. There's tons of economic uncertainty across the globe, which doesn't exactly help us in that
Mhm.
respect because then people aren't investing into our market.
Right.
So here is today's interest rate. You
Mhm.
can see that we hit, I think it's 6.87 as a national average.
Mhm.
I would assume you're quoting a lot less than that probably,
Yeah.
but this is still like brutal news.
It is pretty brutal. But it's not the worst thing. And if anything, it'll probably, we got to just encourage buyers to get out there now, and really take advantage.
I think the buyers that get out there and take advantage of this are going to be really happy because they can refinance out of this rate eventually, right?
Yeah.
It's not like they're going to be at 7% forever.
Yeah, I did get a contract yesterday with some concessions. My people absolutely have to have it in order. They're in an entry level home. And we did negotiate concessions so that we can, buy their interest rate down permanently. So, it's a tough go, but I'm still, if we can get a permanent rate buy down for people, that's for qualifying. It's not just a temporary buy down. If we can get that permanent rate buy down, I think I negotiated like 15,000 in seller concessions to buy down the rate, and it takes them from qualifying for the house or from not qualifying to qualifying.
Great. So that's a really good strategy right there.
Yeah. So we can still, we can say interest rates have gone up in the past 2 weeks. We were approved at this level. We qualified for this house 2 weeks ago. Would your seller be willing to buy down the interest rate permanently?
Great. Well, I think that's a good strategy. If you're out there as a seller, definitely stay tuned in. We'll have some more information for you coming up at the beginning of next month. I think next week we're going to talk a little bit about investors and things investors can do to take advantage of this marketplace. So tune in for that. And don't forget to follow us on social media and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.
Yep. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for joining. Bye, everybody.